Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a completely different look at our public image. We're breaking down Law 5 from Robert Greene's famous book, The 48 Laws of Power. So much depends on reputation, guard it with your life. You know, most people think of reputation as this soft, passive thing, kind of a nice-to-have vanity metric. But by the end of our time together today, we're going to completely shift how you view it. We're talking about turning your public image from an afterthought into an active, razor-sharp weapon and an absolute, impenetrable shield. Look at how Greene actually frames this. He says, "A mine full of diamonds and rubies. You labored to find it, now guard it with your life. Thieves appear from every side." What's so fascinating here is the visual. He's picturing a literal treasure mine. Think about the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to unearth those jewels. That's the exact same effort it takes to build a solid reputation. But once you have it, man, it is an incredibly valuable but highly vulnerable treasure. You literally have to guard it with your life. Because thieves are everywhere. Time, neglect, one bad move, they can dim those jewels or bury them forever. It's not a set it and forget it kind of deal. It takes absolute obsessive vigilance. All right, so here is our strategic playbook for this explainer. We've got 5 sections to get through. Number 1, the currency of power. 2, the empty city defense. 3, the art of the attack. 4, keys to building reputation. And finally, number 5, the modern digital battlefield. Let's get right into it. Starting with section 1, the currency of power. Now, I want you to really think about this for a second. How do people judge you when they can't actually read your mind? I mean, since human character is completely opaque, it's totally invisible to everyone else, how are we actually being evaluated by our peers, our colleagues, or even our enemies? We're all basically a mystery to each other. And this brings up a really fascinating divide. On the left side of the equation, you have your inner character. It's opaque, it's mysterious, it's totally invisible. Literally, no one can see your true intentions. But on the right side, those are your visible deeds. These are completely public. This is all the stuff filtered through the stories people tell about you, your gestures, who you hang out with, and the stark reality of human psychology is that we judge each other almost entirely by those appearances. We have to rely on those public, visible signals because, well, we just don't have access to the hidden truth of someone's inner self. So the big takeaway here is that your reputation is just the controlled version of those visible signals. Greene doesn't look at reputation as some fluffy social asset. No, he sees it as the primary hard currency of influence. It's passive power. It works for you while you're sleeping. A well-crafted reputation is like a shield that deters attacks before they even happen, and a sword that opens doors and magnifies your wins before you even walk into the room. To show you just how much reputation acts like literal magic, or honestly severe confirmation bias, let's look at this crazy Chinese court story about a guy named Mitsu Sha. He was a favorite of the ruler. One day, he's eating this delicious peach, and he gives the half-eaten peach to the ruler. Now, because he had a stellar reputation at the time, this action was praised as the ultimate sign of love. The ruler was like, wow, he loves me so much he forgot himself. Fast forward a few years. Envious courtiers manage to stain his name. His reputation falls. The ruler actually looks back on that exact same half-eaten peach incident and punishes him for insolence and disrespect. Literally the exact same action, totally opposite results. Why? The reputation changed. It just proves that once a reputation takes hold, people filter every single thing you do through that exact lens. Moving on to section 2, the empty city defense. 100, just 100. I want you to imagine being the legendary strategist Zhuge Liang during the War of the Three Kingdoms. He was known as the sleeping dragon, but suddenly he finds himself trapped in this tiny, lightly defended town with only 100 soldiers. And here's the kicker. An enemy army of more than 150,000 men, led by Commander Sima Yi, is rapidly marching right toward him. I mean, the odds are absolutely impossible, right? But instead of panicking, Zhuge Liang does the unthinkable. He orders the city flags taken down and throws the gates wide open. He hides his 100 guys. Then he actually climbs up and sits openly on the highest point of the city wall, wearing a Taoist robe, burning incense, and calmly playing a lute. He doesn't draw a sword. He leans entirely on his cultivated reputation. He was known as the cleverest man in China, a guy who always had a deadly trap waiting. So by just sitting there playing music, he projected this terrifying aura of extreme confidence. And guess what happened? Sima Yi arrives, takes one look at Zhuge Liang playing his lute, and immediately orders a full retreat of his 150,000 troops. No way, right? He assumed this open city and that super serene demeanor absolutely had to be covering up a devastating trap. This is reputation acting as a massive force multiplier. It literally froze a superior force and saved Liang's life without a single arrow being fired. His reputation fought the battle for him. Imagine having a professional reputation so ironclad that you win the negotiation before you even speak. But, what if you don't have that kind of massive reputation built up yet?
That brings us to Section 3, the art of the attack.
Let's talk about the absolute master of using reputation as a sword, P.T. Barnum. Back in 1841, a young Barnum wanted to buy the American Museum, but he didn't have the money and he didn't have the standing. The owners were going to sell it to the much more established Peale's Museum instead. So Barnum systematically dismantled Peale's using a brilliant three-step offensive. Step 1, he launches a massive newspaper campaign, planting seeds of doubt, calling Peale's directors a bunch of incompetent, broken-down bank directors. And doubt is incredibly corrosive. Step 2, as that doubt spread, confidence totally evaporated, which crashed Peale's stock and allowed Barnum to swoop right in and buy the museum himself. Step 3, when Peale's tried to bounce back by cultivating this highbrow scientific image with mesmerism shows, Barnum staged this hilarious comic parody of hypnotism that made his rival look completely ridiculous. Attendance at Peale's just completely tanked. Barnum basically used doubt and ridicule to systematically tear down a much stronger rival.
All right, Section 4, keys to building reputation.
So, we've seen the incredible defensive and offensive power of this law, but how do we actually build this for ourselves? This quote from Baldassare Castiglione absolutely hits the nail on the head. He says, "A courtier should ensure that whenever he arrives among strangers, he is preceded by a good reputation." That's the whole goal right there, creating a predisposition in your favor so your reputation does all the heavy lifting in advance. Think about General Rommel in World War II. The mere rumor he was approaching would literally empty out cities. Or Henry Kissinger, just hearing his name made negotiated compromise feel inevitable.
So Greene gives us a very practical playbook to pull this off. First, you have to establish one clear, outstanding quality. Maybe it's absolute honesty, or maybe it's ruthless efficiency. You want one vivid trait because that is way easier for people to remember than some long, complicated list of virtues. Once you have that foundation, you spread it deliberately. Now, if you ever face a scandal and your reputation gets damaged, you repair it by associating yourself with the exact opposite of whatever stained you. Never ever appear defensive or angry when you get attacked. Honestly, that just screams insecurity. When you need to attack a rival, keep it subtle. Use satire and ridicule rather than getting into a crude shouting match. And finally, you have to continuously renew your reputation so time doesn't slowly chip away at it.
Let's look at Section 5, the modern digital battlefield. Look, we aren't living in the courts of ancient China or dealing with 1800s newspapers anymore. Today, in an age of instant search results and algorithmic amplification, your reputation travels farther and settles faster than ever before. Thanks to the permanence of social media, a single viral incident can crystallize or completely shatter a reputation you spent years building, literally overnight. Honestly, that makes Law 5 way more critical today than it even was in Greene's historical examples. The court of public opinion locks in its first impressions incredibly fast now. So while the tools we use for personal branding have sped up exponentially, the underlying psychology hasn't changed one bit. We've just swapped out court rumors for algorithms and word of mouth for Google search results, but humans still outsource their judgment to the stories circulating about you. They still rely on those visible signals to make up their minds about your invisible inner character. But hey, a quick warning here. It's super vital to remember the limitations of this law. Obsessive reputation management can get exhausting, it can make you look inauthentic, and it might even trap you in a single public image when you actually really need to reinvent yourself. Plus, if you're in a tightly knit, high-trust, collaborative community, manipulating your image too overtly can backfire horribly. Greene's advice really thrives in highly competitive, zero-sum environments where appearances are everything. So, read the room. Apply this strategy where it actually serves you best. I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Greene argues that there is absolutely no true reversal to this law. Indifference to your reputation is fatal. Think about it. By not shaping how you are perceived, you are literally handing the power of definition over to others. So ask yourself today, are you proactively writing your own story, or are you letting your enemies and critics write it for you? Guard your reputation with your life, and use it to transform perception itself into your ultimate instrument of power.